Hello, and welcome. I'm your host, Wanrad Birdie, and this is episode 3 of ClickBait and Chaos, where I deliver the news in the most offensive way possible that will make your therapist go, I'm gonna need a minute. Our first topic, New York City has a new mayor? In a win for progressivism, Zorhan Mamdani has won the Democratic primary for New York City mayor, beating out old candidates like Andrew Cuomo, who thinks consent is the vibe he creates after placing a hand on a woman's lower back and then trying to convince people it was just foreplay, and she never said no, even after the payment went through. Mamdani, a Democratic socialist backed by grassroots donors and queer activists, ran a campaign so progressive it made Bernie Sanders look like a sleepy mall Santa who just wants everyone to get along. Mamdani said no to landlords, yes to public housing, and making billionaires cry by teaching them a little thing called empathy. Critics say his ideas are too radical, but New Yorkers are loving it. Because if you live in a $3,200 shoebox with a creepy roommate, your subway smells like piss, and your former mayor has a very suspicious relationship with the police, radical change starts to sound pretty fucking reasonable. Everyone's favorite political streamer, Hasan Piker, was spotted taking photos with Mamdani, and later nodding in approval because nothing screams solidarity with a pinch of capitalism like showing support from your $3 million LA mansion. He swears it's just part of his worker co-op. Yep, there's not a single person on this planet who doesn't like Hasan Piker, because that guy is really good at talking loudly, and he doesn't actually like having a lot of money. He's just trying to figure out which charity to donate it all to, while soaking in his hot tub and sipping on iced matcha from his Joseph Stalin mug. Honestly, if Mamdani wants to succeed, he doesn't have that big of a shoe to fill. I would say step 1 is exiling every woman in public office who calls herself a girl boss but clutches her purse near the subway every time she sees a black person. And step 2 is letting Duolingo run the Board of Education, because at least the cartoon owl has a clear plan and sticks to it. Bottom line, Andrew Cuomo's pissed. Hasan Piker is super excited he finally has a brown friend in the city he said deserved 9/11, and New York City voters are fired up to see if Mamdani will actually change things, like cleaning up the streets and getting rid of every shitty teenager that thinks it's fucking hilarious to blow vape clouds in a homeless person's face. In other news, last Monday, filmmaker and weaponized podcast host Jeremy Corbell dropped a UFO bombshell so massive it would make Oppenheimer's bomb look like Peter Dinklage doing a cannonball at a public swimming pool. Apparently, a massive dish-shaped object about 200 to 400 meters wide was silently hovering over the Duran line back in 2020. That's right, when everyone was freaking out over the end of the world, aliens were flying around ever so silently, but not silently enough that one man was able to film it and share his story 5 years later. Somehow, still not the sketchiest thing the US military did in 2020. That honor goes to pretending like a virus didn't spread faster than genital warts, after spending the night with a hooker who's built like a beanbag, covered in cellulite, and sounding like Marge Simpson after a decade of smoking menthol cigarettes. Corbell says he's seen a bunch of UFO videos like this, and that he's been in contact with multiple people in the government that would put their names on the line to defend the authenticity of those videos. Which sounds less like disclosure, and more like the guy who saw Bigfoot at Walmart and won't shut the fuck up about it because his alcoholic friend that works at the postal office told him, you know, maybe it was that there Sasquatch. Corbell claims the UFO had intelligent control, no heat signature, and didn't make a sound. Which is funny, because that's the same legal defense Jeffrey Dahmer used when the detectives asked him about his relationship with the victims. When asked what the UFO looked like, Corbell said, a giant disc. If you ask me, the video footage had the quality of a terrorist ransom video from 2003 and looked more like the town's pervert standing under a streetlight while tossing a quarter in the air after smearing Vaseline on the security camera. Of course, the Pentagon responded with their signature phrase, "We have nothing to offer." Doesn't surprise me, because that's the same thing they've been telling people for years when asked about Iraq, Afghanistan, and more importantly, can I meet Tom Cruise if I join the Air Force? Yeah, right. You have a better chance being Maverick by joining Scientology than you would by joining the military. I'm not saying aliens don't exist, but sure, let's all get excited over the shiny dot in the sky. Because even if aliens were smart enough to cross galaxies at interstellar speed, it's absolutely plausible that one guy with a video recorder that was made in 1997 could get indisputable evidence of a UFO just hanging out above Kandahar like Chris Christie, waiting in line at a birthday party to get a second slice of cake. In sports news, Jake Paul, the human hemorrhoid of YouTube turned boxer, won his most recent fight against Julio Cesar Chavez Jr., adding another win to his record against someone whose father is considered the greatest Mexican boxer alive. Yep, there's nothing questionable about Jake Paul winning this fight. In an interview, Jake Paul claims his win against Chavez Jr. proves he's a real boxer. But come on, after beating Mike Tyson in the most hilariously rigged fight since all of pro wrestling, is anybody surprised Chavez Jr. went down faster than Mia Khalifa if she was behind on her rent? I mean, seriously, Chavez Jr. looked like he was daydreaming about what he'd buy first with his paycheck, while not giving a single fuck about the legacy his father built with the Chavez name. And Jake Paul, he just strutted around the ring like a frat bro who thinks getting his STD test back saying negative means he's fucking invincible. Jake was quoted saying he wants to go up against bigger names now, like Tyson Fury. Honestly, I wouldn't be shocked if the next opponent Jake Paul challenged was the corpse Logan discovered at the Suicide Forest, as long as the script says he wins and there's enough brand deals to bribe Google into labeling him a professional boxer instead of a YouTuber. Bottom line, Jake Paul keeps winning, but his fights continue to look faker than his ex-girlfriend Tana Monahue's tits. At this point, the only real knockout would be his fans wake up and realizing they're paying for a scripted soap opera starring a talentless dickwad pretending like he's not jerking himself off, while the entire internet bitches and moans on Twitter calling the fight rigged. In international news, instead of talking about something depressing like the Middle East, Netflix just dropped the final season of Squid Games, and fans are calling the season finale more rushed than Jack Doherty on boner pills and one of his OnlyFans hookers giving him the best 48 seconds of his life. It was quick, not very impressive, and extremely disappointing. Look, I'm a huge fan of the show. Watching desperate addicts fight to the death is basically the South Korean version of Black Friday in Camden, New Jersey, and I love watching that shit. From the safety of my own home, of course. But this season felt like they just massacred your favorite characters, spit in their face, and called it closure. No spoilers, but if you didn't see the ending coming, you obviously weren't paying attention, because the foreshadowing was louder than a crackhead having an orgasm in a porta potty behind the 7-Eleven, and the last 20 minutes left more plot holes than Courtney Love talking about Kurt Cobain's suicide. Sure, the season provided lots of blood, betrayal, and rich psychos treating human suffering like a cum-shot compilation on Pornhub. But more than anything, it was extremely depressing. At one point, I was left thinking, is this a South Korean drama or a North Korean one? Squid Games is done, and I couldn't be more upset about it. But at least we can now watch the real-life version of Squid Games, where politicians continue to gamble with our lives, billionaires hoard all the cash, and Gen Z is praying they don't end up as the next contestants when they get drafted for World War III. Now, for everyone's favorite topic, celebrity gossip! In this week's celebrity gossip, TikTokers are flooding the app with the hashtag #FreeVicky, claiming the influencer, known as WoahVicky, the girl who made cosplaying as a proud independent black woman trendy, is being held hostage, either by traffickers, her management, or possibly the ghost of her last brain cell. This all started when WoahVicky posted on social media that she had been kidnapped in Nigeria and her captors wanted $1 million ransom. Because nothing screams legitimate abduction like a dumb bitch in her 20s jumping onto social media, using a filter, and adding a PayPal link asking her followers to donate $1 million. Vicky then went live an hour later and claimed it was all a joke. You know, one of those classic federal felony prank moments with light treason and some hee hee ha ha moments. I guess I missed the email where it explained faking a kidnapping for views and possibly financial gain without having to pop your pussy for perverts on the internet or twerk in some booty shorts is the new wave of classic comedy. TikTok wasn't buying it. Within hours, every unemployed person on the app turned into Sherlock Holmes and began dissecting her videos by pointing out her bruises, the laggy edits, and a vacant stare like it held the secrets of the universe. Or maybe she was just trying to spell the word cat. Who knows? The TikTok detective squad are saying she's being coerced, maybe trafficked, or forced to promote the Zeus network. And if you have no idea what the fuck the Zeus network is, it's because you didn't just get your GED online and you actually walked at your high school graduation. But more importantly, you're white. Do I believe WoahVicky's being held hostage? No, because on the off chance she's being held against her will and being forced to make content, I'd feel more sorry for her captors, because there's no punishment crueler than having to sit in a room with WoahVicky for hours on end and listen to her speak. Bottom line, either WoahVicky is in real danger, or this is the first hostage hoax staged entirely in a Fashion Nova romper and filmed on a burner phone by a man who's actually a Nigerian prince. If you ask me, maybe we hold off on calling Homeland Security for a welfare check on a bitch that thinks she'd be the perfect spokesperson for the civil rights movement. So just to recap, Zorhan Mamdani wins the New York City Democratic primary, proving progressive branding works better than Andrew Cuomo's creepy hugs. Jeremy Corbell shows another UFO video with as much validity as a sex tape starring the Loch Ness Monster. Jake Paul, the YouTuber and not professional boxer, won another fight that was totally not rigged. Squid Game ended worse than a toxic divorce between your parents. And TikTok conspiracy theorists think WoahVicky is being held hostage, which is almost as believable as people thinking she's black and can say the N-word. If you enjoyed this video, give it a like, comment, dislike, subscribe, tell me to go fuck myself. Just don't send me your UFO conspiracy theories unless you plan on probing me first, because you have no idea how freaky I can get. Thank you so much for watching, and I'll see you in the next episode of ClickBait and Chaos. Bye bye now.